was one word I could use to describe the ES300h's driving experience, it would be that: silence. It's a really quiet, refined driving experience. The ES300h has been updated for 2021. You get new styling, new features on the inside, and the hybrid platform that we know and love. Welcome to Evo India, and welcome to our review of the 2021 Lexus ES300h. Before we dive right in, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Evo India channel, smash that bell icon, and leave a comment. Let us know, would you pick the Lexus ES300h over a more traditional German sedan? Let's talk styling first, because the visual drama of the Lexus ES300h has to be one of its USPs. This is a really good looking car. It looks so bloody cool. The outside, the changes are subtle. You've got a slightly redesigned grille. You've got sleeker looking headlamps, and the LED elements on the inside have been redesigned. You've got new wheels. The wheels look really cool, these dual tone wheels. And that's about it. From the rear, it looks pretty much the same. The changes aren't too radical. And that's a good thing, because I think the ES300h looks gorgeous. It stands out from a crowd, and you will never mistake it for anything but a Lexus. And the Lexus badge, it has snob value, you have to admit that. So in that sense, it's a good looking car. It looks really sleek. I love the spoiler at the back. When it's rolling down the road, it really looks menacing. And as expected of a facelift, the minor tweaks, which just keep it a little fresh for 2021. Changes to the interiors, they're just as subtle, but honestly they make a bigger difference, because you now have Apple CarPlay and you now have a touchscreen. Earlier you had to use this fiddly touchpad, which honestly was a bit of a disaster. It was really difficult to use, particularly when you were driving, and clicking it and just using the screen was a general mess in the Lexus. But now you've got a touchscreen, so you can just reach out, very intuitive. You've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. That's great, because you can hook up your phone and you've got everything at your fingertips, whether it's your Spotify or your phone or your maps, whatever. Worth mentioning is the fact that this is not wireless CarPlay. You still need to connect it via a cable, and no USB Type-C up front. You've still got the old USB ports up front, so you have USB-Cs at the rear. The screen, it's large, it's very clear, and the touch sensitivity is good. So all in all, the in-car infotainment system, big upgrade over the last car, and a very welcome upgrade over the last car. Apart from that, the changes to the interiors are minor. You've got some new walnut wood, which I think is quite nice, very cool. But the overall layout, it remains the same. So you've got your analog style but digital clock up front. You've got your screen over here. Your driving modes, they're controlled from this little knob over here, and you've got traction control over here. So front wheel drive, so it doesn't really make a difference. In terms of features in the car, you've got these really plush seats with electric adjustability, memory function, so that's nice. They're heated and cooled, which is a nice touch again, because this morning it was really chilly and I sat with the heated seats on all morning and was very comfortable. My bum was toasty and I was happy. Another feature worth pointing out that is really a standout feature is the Mark Levinson audio system. You can set it up through the menus over there. You set up the treble, the bass, and all of that. And once you've done that, you've got a really involving sound system. It's really, really good. What I really like about the Lexus is the materials and the finish over here. It's a really plush space. So everything that you touch, everything that you're in contact with, it feels nice, it feels expensive. These buttons, when you twist them, they have a nice click to them. The door pads, it's all leather, it's all soft, it feels very nice. This open pore wood, again, feels really nice. Even the steering wheel has a bit of wood on it, and all of it, all the sensations, the tactile sensations in the cabin are very nice. It all feels and comes together very well. Feels expensive, and that's what you want from your luxury car at the end of the day, don't you? But enough chit chat about the features and the interiors. Let's talk about the way it is to drive. Under the hood, 2.5 litre petrol engine, but this is a hybrid, so you've also got a electric motor which hooks up to the engine and gives you a combined output of 214 bhp, the whole system output. And how does it work? Well, I think it works brilliantly. For starters, you can start off in EV mode. So if you have enough charge in the battery, you can put it into EV mode and you can roll off only under the power of the battery, and you can stay under the power of the battery up to, I think, 50 kilometers an hour, which is great. So even if you're in the city, you can properly drive it only on the battery. In fact, Toyota and Lexus's data shows that their owners in the city use the battery and are using it in EV only mode up to 60% of the time. That's significant. But there is a petrol powered motor as well, and should you ask for a little more brisk acceleration, or should you cross that 50 kilometer an hour threshold, the petrol engine kicks in absolutely seamlessly, and then you've got more performance on tap. The engine itself is powerful, 214 bhp, and you've got a lot of torque filled with the electric motor. So the urgency of the engine is definitely there. The urgency of the drivetrain, let me put it that way, is definitely there. You do have a CVT transmission, so you do feel that elastic band effect a little bit, but I must say that the electric motor does a good job of filling in those gaps. So whenever there is a dip in the torque curve, the electric motor fills in that gap. So you do have a fairly relentless surge of performance in the Lexus, but you can hear it. Occasionally you can hear the CVT on the outside, especially if you're absolutely flooring it. But you don't want to floor the Lexus, because this isn't a car that you want to drive too aggressively. It's a car that you want to sit back and relax and enjoy driving. On the go, if you're taking it easy, if you're just cruising around, and even if you're on path throttle, you can barely hear the drivetrain. It's almost silent on the inside. You can only hear a little bit of road noise, a little bit of wind noise, but the drivetrain itself is silent. When you're in EV mode, you'll notice that the revs have dropped to zero, but then when the engine fires up again, the revs pick up and you get going. And if you're actually interested in what the battery and the motor are doing, you have icons on your display in your digital cockpit, or even on the screen over here, that shows you exactly what the drivetrain is doing. So when the battery is charging, it shows you these blue arrows going into the battery. When you're under hard acceleration, it'll show arrows moving from the motor towards the wheels. So you're constantly aware of what the drivetrain is doing, whether it's recovering energy, whether it's expending energy, the status of the battery, all of that is visible, and you're in the know. You can drive it without all that information. You can just choose to ignore it and let the car do its thing. But if you're keen on figuring out how this technology is working, and I think it's very interesting as well, you can throw it up right there and pay attention to it. And you can actually play games with yourself. Try to charge the battery as much as you can, lift and coast, use the brakes and not get aggressive with the accelerator. All of that helps charging the battery, extending your range, and obviously increasing the efficiency of the drivetrain. Now coming to the chassis, again, the chassis is set up for comfort, so you've got good ride quality over bad bumps, over typical Indian roads. The chassis actually absorbs it all really well. It's not a outright handling car, let me put it that way, because should you chuck it into a corner, you will find understeer. This is front wheel drive, you need to remember. But you drive it at 7/10s, you drive it at 8/10s, and you will have a really nice driving experience. The steering, it feels direct, it feels connected, it doesn't feel super disconnected from the front end. You've got a good amount of feel, the feedback. The car feels communicative, but it's not a car that you want to push, because that's when it starts to complain. And that's all right. You don't have to push this car. It's a car that you can enjoy at 8/10s. What about ground clearance? A lot of people asked on our social media whether the Lexus ES300 ground clearance is enough. It looks like it's a really low slung car in the photos, but I'll tell you what, in the real world, it actually is very usable. We loaded it up with 4 people and their luggage and drove it over regular Indian roads, and it didn't touch anywhere. You've got to be careful over sharp speed breakers, you've got to slow down, take them gently, but there's no issues per se with the ground clearance. You're not absolutely babying it over regular Indian roads. It's absolutely usable and completely fine. So is the Lexus ES300h an enjoyable car to drive? I think it is. You know, it's enjoyable in that when you sit inside it, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel special. It's not a car that will set your heart on fire. It's not a car that delivers very highly on the thrill of driving, but not every car has to, does it? This is a car that you get into, you feel pampered, you feel cool because of the way it looks. You know you're standing out from a crowd, and it just does the luxury bits of things very well. It's quiet, it's comfortable, it's refined, it's poised. Over long distances, this thing can munch the miles very comfortably, you know. because it's so quiet, because it's so refined, fatigue doesn't set in the seats, they're comfortable. You've got plenty of performance on tap. Crank up the tunes on the Mark Levinson, go for a long drive, do 800 kilometers in a day. It will not complain at all. We've road tripped in the Camry, which this shares a platform with, and that was incredible. And this takes the luxury up 2 levels, you know, and with that additional luxury, with the additional features, with the additional comfort, you're in really, really good hands in this Lexus. The back seat is also a very comfortable place to be. You've got comfortable seats that have good support, plenty of knee room and headroom, and you've also got a control panel that allows you to control the AC, the media, and the seat recline angle. There's also a boss button to free up more room at the back. So what do I think of the ES300h? I think it's a lovely car, and it's lovely in all of the right ways. It's quiet, it's comfortable, it's plush on the inside. It feels like it's constantly pampering you, and that's exactly what you want from your luxury car. It's not the most engaging car to drive. The hybrid drivetrain with the CVT, it doesn't make for the most engaging driving experience, but it is efficient, it is quiet, and it has good performance. So all the basics are sorted. As for the chassis, again, it's set up for comfort. So whether you're in the city or you're covering big miles, you'll be extremely comfortable and you will not feel fatigued. But should you try to drive it aggressively around a set of corners, you won't find it the most engaging dialed-in driving experience. And that's okay. The Lexus, it doesn't want to be driven hard. And drive it at 7/10s, drive it at 8/10s, and it's a very refined, comfortable, capable driving experience. Now, the ES300h, it goes up against the likes of the C-Class, the 3 Series, the A4, and it brings to the table is hybrid drivetrain. None of the rivals get that, but it also brings to the table so much more. Get into the Lexus ES300h and you will definitely stand out from the crowd, and that is what I love about it.